Today is February 17th, 2023, and we are here at Mackin House. My name is Jasmine Moore, and I will be interviewing Ron Schiefke, who used to live and work at Fraser Mills. And welcome, Ron. Thank you for coming all the way from Ladysmith to join us today. So I understand that you grew up in Fraser Mills.
Yes, I did.
Can you describe your home and the neighborhood a bit for us?
Well, I had two homes.
Yep.
One was on Seward Street, which was the last street before the railway tracks.
Okay, yeah.
And we lived next to a creek there. We had all kinds of interesting things. We had what's called a tramway, which is wide enough, but it's all planks. And it went up through the whole neighborhood. And we used it a lot. I don't know what for, just running around, I guess. And the next, we moved to, I'm not sure how old I was, to 153 King Edward.
Well, it would have been just down the street here.
About five houses down from his house, or this building.
I think this is 169. Yeah.
And so I was there till 1970 when I got married.
Okay.
So I was there 21 years.
Was it a company house?
Yes.
Yeah? What, was it white at the time?
I think so.
Yeah? Did they still give you things like wood from the mill, or?
Not wood.
No?
They kept the houses up.
Yeah.
They painted the house outside. They're wallpapered inside.
Oh.
They
Did you get to pick?
Kept our side. Oh, my mother got to pick.
Oh, good.
And we had wooden sidewalks, and they would take care of those.
Yeah.
And I guess that's all. The mill guys are always busy. They're always doing something.
Yeah, yeah. Was it a crew of people that would come,
yeah, the wallpaper guy was by himself.
Yeah.
And he painted by himself, I believe, too.
Oh, wow.
So he's busy.
Yeah.
Lots of houses.
How many rooms?
6 or 3 bedrooms, kitchen,
Yeah.
dining room, living room.
Yeah.
Oh, bathroom.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Bathroom. Yeah, that's good.
But, yeah, 7.
Yeah. And did you have a driveway?
Yes.
Yeah. Paved or unpaved?
No, it was dirt.
All dirt, yeah.
Or gravel. Or
Gravel, yeah.
at the back of the house.
Wow.
And we had what we called a wood shed. It's the storage shed,
Yeah.
but no garage.
Oh. Did you have a wood-burning fireplace?
No.
No?
We had a furnace, which was underneath the living room, and there's a big grill over it. So Dad had to take the grill off. It was oil. And he turned it on, the oil came in. He got a piece of tissue or something, threw it down there for the oil to ignite. Then he put the cover.
Yes.
And we had propane in the kitchen.
Yeah. Sounds kind of scary.
Well, the oil was weird, but
Yeah.
you go into the house and have a look, it's a big piece of equipment.
Yeah. Big boiler. So how has it changed over the years?
How has it changed? There's nothing there anymore,
I know.
including the mill.
Yeah.
It closed in 2001.
Yeah.
And I think some of this building, all these stores, happened before that. This King Edward, it takes a bend out here. It used to go between Mackin and Rhinehouse.
Yes. But people don't believe us when we tell them that,
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. No, they had to move the street, which is nice for us.
Yeah, our back lane ran directly into Marmot.
Oh, really? What stands out as kind of one of the biggest changes that you've seen?
Here?
Yeah, aside from, I guess, the mill
Besides, there's
being
nothing
gone.
left.
Yeah.
Well, the freeway.
Yes. Yeah.
Part of it is on top of the house we lived in down there.
Yeah.
And then that Terra Nova dump went in, which I think part of it was the bed for the freeway.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I guess, wasn't a highlight, but I visited the station master in the Fraser Mills station.
And that was just on the other side of the railroad tracks?
It was on the Seward Street side.
Seward Street, okay.
So it was north of the tracks.
Yeah.
But not far.
Yeah.
And they had another building with coal and water for them. I guess there were still steam engines working.
Wow.
And I remember him on the telegraph.
Yeah. Do you know when they took the houses out?
Well,
Would have been after.
my parents, I was married in 1970, and maybe 5 years later, they started taking the houses out. I may not be right with that, but they took all the houses out. And below the highway and above the highway, so
Yeah.
it was all vacant land.
About 76.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I had somebody email me and ask me that, and I was always told that it was much earlier than the 70s.
Yeah, my parents moved to Crescent Beach
Oh,
from there, and I'm thinking it was the same year I got married. I'm not 100% sure of that, in 1970.
yeah. And when you got married, where did you go?
We lived in New Westminster,
In New West, yeah.
8th Street and Royal Avenue, in a three-story apartment.
Did you work at the mill still?
I still did.
Yeah. You commuted?
Yep, I worked on weekends.
Yeah.
So I was going to university then.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So I worked weekends basically. I worked some weekends 2 days. One day I worked with the millwrights in the sawmill. And the other day I worked in the plywood plant, labor in the plywood plant.
Yeah.
Yep.
What did you take in university?
Biochemistry.
Yeah. Where did you go?
After that, I was hired by the RCMP
Yeah.
as a civilian member to work in the forensic lab.
Oh, how long did you do that for?
32 years, 4 months.
Yeah. In Vancouver?
Vancouver,
Yeah.
near Oak Ridge.
Oh, great. And where did you go to university?
Simon Fraser.
Simon Fraser? How has that changed? That must be quite
Oh,
different.
it's huge up there because I got condos and
Yeah.
all that. I mean, all that was there was the main 3 buildings, the gymnasium, the admin, and the campus part, or
Yeah.
the main building.
Did you take the bus?
No, I drove.
You drove up to Burnaby Mountain?
I had my own parking place.
Oh,
For a while, then they made it general parking.
yeah. It must have been pretty new at that time.
Well, the first class was in there in 1965,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and I was 66.
Oh, wow. That's quite significant then.
So I graduated in 72 because I worked for a couple of professors and did, like 2 or 3 courses at a time rather than full, so I could work.
Yeah. Been there. What were your neighbors like here?
Neighbors?
Yeah.
Well, I never had a bad one.
No? That's good.
We didn't go more than like 2 or 3 houses up from ours.
Yeah.
But there were other people, like Judith Forst lived in the town site.
Oh, okay. Did you attend any gatherings?
There were. I remember they had a clubhouse on the west side of King Edward, way down the lower part. And
Yeah.
I remember going to, like, they had Halloween fireworks displays. And
Oh, that's great.
then they'd have something in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
But I remember my parents going there for dances. But what else that clubhouse was used for, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I remember there was a store. And
The company store.
company store.
Yeah.
And there was a restaurant.
Yeah.
And then across the tracks was a home gas station.
Oh. Who ran the restaurant? Do you remember?
Fred and his wife, can't remember. It was a couple.
Yeah.
And I remember going, well, there's a meat market there too. I remember going in there too to get stuff.
What kind of food did they serve?
Mostly meat.
Mostly meat?
In the store. It was more of a butcher shop than anything.
Yeah, yeah,
A guy named Claire Miller ran it.
yeah. And what, in the restaurant, what kind of, is it like,
Like fish and chips,
Fish and chips.
burgers, and it was good.
yeah?
We went there a lot.
Oh, good.
Oh, Jean was the wife's.
Jean?
Yeah.
Do you remember, did it have a name?
probably dead.
Yeah. That's okay.
We just knew where the main door was to get in.
Yeah, yeah. What were the Halloween events like?
They were good.
Yeah?
You did really quite a display.
Yeah. Do you do like bobbing for apples or trick-or-treating or anything like
We did
that?
trick-or-treating.
Yeah?
We thought it was a big deal to get 10 cents from some of the people. Instead of candy or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was the guy who owned the garage. He did that.
He did? Oh, really?
But I worked for him.
Yeah.
when I
So you
was
got
in-
20?
When I was, yeah, didn't pay much. But we were on shifts at school. Mm-hmm. So I worked in the morning, went to school in the morning, worked there in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I also worked there when he went on holidays. Mm-hmm. I took care of the whole thing except where the mechanic was. And I was 15.
15, okay. And was that down at near the mill or up here?
Across the street,
Yeah.
basically across the tracks from the railway station.
Oh, okay. What was
Across-
it called? The gas station?
Size Garage.
Size Garage.
Cy Dodwell
Okay.
was the boss.
Yeah.
And it was right across from the main office building.
Yeah.
So all the bosses came there, got gas. $2 was pretty good fill up, and $5 was almost impossible. The gas was like 25 cents a gallon.
Yeah. Not like today. No. This is a bit of a strange question, but what did the neighborhood smell like? Could you smell the wood? It's always my...
I guess you could. The wood was, the mill was quite apart, quite a ways, but
Yeah.
maybe smoke sometimes, especially when there was a fire.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Were there any significant fires of note when you were
Not-
living here?
Not really big ones, but they had a big pile of a big pile of sawdust and bark, and it was so big that it generated its own heat inside, and it burned.
Yeah.
And once in a while, the flames would come out.
Oh, wow.
And the mill had a system of codes and the big whistle. So if it one long, two shorts, or whatever, three longs, whatever the signal was, they knew where to go. I think it was one truck fire department.
Yeah. And you had mentioned earlier your uncle and your father were both
Fire chief.
fire chief.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was that like? Was it challenging?
Well, all the hoses and stuff were in the town site.
Yeah.
And I don't remember a fire in the town site, but I remember bushfires east of the town site,
Oh, okay.
where all the restaurants and not the IKEA side, but toward the Portman Bridge side.
Okay. Yeah.
But they were kind of scary.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Just like that, right? When it's
Oh, yeah.
super dry.
But those guys had to do all that.
Yeah.
Maybe Coquitlam was involved. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they had probably, a fire team for down there and then a separate one
Yeah.
for up here. So can you tell me why you lived in Coquitlam, Fraser Mills, and what drew your family here?
Well, my grandparents came from Germany. They landed in Ellis Island in New York, and somehow they must have had some money because they ended up in Bellingham.
Wow, it's quite a ways.
We have no relatives that I know of in the States.
Yeah.
My aunt was born in Bellingham. They arrived in 1903. And I don't know when she was born, maybe 05 or 06, maybe in there somewhere. And then they moved to Canada, and my uncle was a millwright in the mill.
Yeah.
And they came in 1911.
Did your grandfather work for the mill
Yes, he
as
was
well?
a millwright.
Yeah.
I suspect in a sawmill because I don't think there was a plywood plant then.
Yeah. What was his name?
Carl.
Carl.
And I was always told that his name was spelled with a K in Germany. But he changed it to a C.
Interesting.
But when I see pictures of the family, it's spelled with a C in Germany. So I think that K thing was a bit of
Oh,
a legend or something.
yeah, yeah. Things get transformed over time, right? With families, it can happen.
Yeah, so they had 4 boys here,
Yeah,
and they all live in the town site,
yeah.
the parents and the kids.
What were their names?
Well, there's Harold, Fred, my dad,
Yep.
and Albert.
And Albert. What was your dad was Walter?
Yes.
Yep. And you said that they were all pretty big, right? With the exception
Except for Albert, but he wasn't scrawny, but he wasn't as big as the other three.
Yeah, yeah. So working in the mill was pretty.
Yeah,
It made a lot of sense, right?
They all worked in the mill. My dad worked in the plywood plant. Fred worked in the sawmill. Harold he was a safety manager, so he roamed the whole mill. He knew exactly where the dangers were.
Yeah, and monitored it.
Yeah, and Albert worked in the plywood plant
Yeah.
as a production guy.
Okay. Do you remember any significant accidents happening that your uncle would have been involved in terms
I
of?
know my dad was.
Your dad, yeah. Do you want to describe that?
He's in the Turtle Club, or was, because his life was saved by wearing a hard hat.
Yes.
But he was in working underneath what he called a carriage, which moved back and forth. He was under it, and someone, like he put a card in a lock so it wouldn't go, but someone took that card out and started the machine while he was under it.
Oh no.
And the carriage whacked him in the head. But I remember that day, I think was the same day, my brother and I were walking down King Ed, and his car came out and he was in it. So he rolled down the window, bleeding that he was, and said, what are you boys doing here? You should be home. It had to be the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the only injury that I know of.
Yeah. And he got an award which you donated very generously. Thank you for wearing his hard hat. So that saved his life probably.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there much recovery from that incident at all, or?
Well, yeah, there was some, I guess, not a lot.
Yeah. Because the hard hat was.
But I had an accident myself in the sawmill when I was working for the.
Do you want to tell me about that?
They had a trim saw, and there was like 20 saws in a row, and the operator would move them up and down depending on the length of the wood they wanted. So I was underneath. The saws were up in the weekends, so I was underneath cleaning it, and one of the saws dropped on my hand.
Oh no.
Which, of course, I ended up in the hospital.
Yeah.
Stitches, but it was really sore at the time, but I bled a bit.
Yeah, I bet.
But when I finally got back to the mill, the foreman sat me down at the table and gave me the safety manual to read for the rest of the day.
Well, at least you got paid, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We got paid our $4 an hour or whatever we made.
Yeah.
But when I started there, when I was 16, they had a boys rate.
Yeah.
So it was like $1 less than the regular guys did.
Oh. What did you do when you first started?
When I started, I was worked mostly in the plywood plant, pulling veneer and with the dried, and we fed the dryers and emptied them. So
Yeah.
I did that, and eventually I got to work for the sawmill mill rates.
Well, that's nice.
That was a good job.
Yeah.
But it was kind of dangerous. But when I cut my hand, that was in the sawmill.
Yes, yeah. Well, and did they give you much safety training in advance?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Stay away from the saws, but we had to work there.
Yeah, you can't avoid it, right? It's a very ever-present danger.
So my uncle worked in the sawmill.
Yeah.
He operated the gang saw, which shook the whole building when it worked.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was unbelievably strong.
Yeah. What did the gang saw do?
Well, you get a great chunk of what they call a cant, which was maybe 8 inches wide and about 24 inches, about 8 inches thick and about 24 inches wide. And you'd feed it on a chain into the gang saw and it cut it into 2-inch wide pieces.
So it was like multiple blades? Oh, wow.
And they'd all go up and down the same way, and it just shook the place.
It's scary, hey?
I watched them. I took tours
Yeah.
of people up, and it was all up in walkways above that, and they were amazed by that, by that machine.
Yeah. I bet that's...
But it was made 1912.
Yes. So
It
they've
was
been...
there a long time.
Yeah, that's probably part of the reason why they were able to produce so much lumber.
I did what my uncle's 1 million board feet
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah. for quite a while too. Yeah, and you know, once they made the adjustments in 1909, 1910, it was just they were off and running. Anyway, we'll go back to the list.
Well, I worked on the green chain
Yeah.
briefly.
Oh, did you? What was that like?
I didn't like it.
No.
Well, I think I was only there maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah. What did you do?
Just pulled lumber and piled it.
Yeah.
But it's pretty heavy stuff because it hadn't been dried yet.
Yeah, I bet.
And then you had the dry kilns to dry it. But I worked with a planer. It's called the yard sizer. And they would mostly 2x4s and 2x10s. And there was and it was graded. And then the boards came out of there so fast that you had to, for 2x4s, you would load into the load 5 at a time.
Yeah.
And the poor Oriental guy wasn't last in line. And it was there's grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and grade 4, and he was in charge of the grade 4 stuff, which is junk basically.
Yeah.
But it would pile up. There's 2 chains that joined, and the stuff would tangle up in the chains. But he came to me and complained one day. And he said, "Too muchy number 4." And the rest of us were up in front of him.
Yeah.
But it was quite interesting. We did a whole summer. One of the guys, one guy I worked next to, we ended up being hunting partners, and he was in my wedding party.
Oh, okay. What was his name?
Randy Godden.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't know what he did after that.
Yeah.
Well, he eventually became working fisheries on the hatchery on the Coquitlam River.
Okay, yep. Was that gentleman you were talking about, was he Chinese?
Yes.
Were there other Chinese or South Asian or Japanese workers?
Well, there was a few. The only Chinese person I knew was, besides the guy I worked, I didn't really know his name.
Yeah.
Was a guy they called Charlie.
Yeah.
And he must have lived in the last house of the Chinese town.
Okay, like the last one standing?
The last one standing.
Yeah.
And he lived there by himself.
And that was in the 70s, right? Or 60s? 70s? Yeah.
And he was the only one.
Yeah.
And he used to come. I used to work in the garage at home station, and he would come in there once in a while.
Yeah. And can you tell me about Sock?
Sokseki?
Yeah.
Oh, he worked. I don't know what he did in the mill. I think maybe he was a foreman or something.
Yeah.
But he got interned in the Second War. Of course, my dad and my brothers are all upset because he was one of the. He didn't speak. I don't know whether he spoke Japanese, but he spoke very good English. But he did come back.
Yeah.
To the mill after the war.
I think he worked there for 53 years.
He was a long time.
Yeah. And one of the only people to come back afterwards. And he probably would have been around the same time as your dad and your uncle, I think, right?
Now, so that was when the war ended in 1945. He came back and he lived in the town site.
Yeah.
For quite a time.
Yeah. Did he have a family? Do you remember?
I guess he had a wife. I don't remember kids.
Yeah. Did you know any other Japanese kids when you were going to school, or?
No.
No?
Very few.
Very few, yeah.
Mostly French Canadians.
Yeah, and you
kids.
mentioned there was a large Greek community.
There was a Greek community. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
I don't know how large it was, but they lived, like the Chinese had their own Chinese town.
Yeah.
And it was off the mill property.
Like down over...
Toward the Port Mann Bridge area.
Yeah.
East of the mill.
Yeah.
And then there was South Asians. They had their own little area, and the Greeks had their own little area. And
I heard
think
the
some
Greek
Japanese
was on
did.
the other side towards New West. Is that right, or was it closer with the
east side? They were
east
all
side?
on the. I don't know whether swampland or what it was over there, but they had Chinese had some big houses down there
Did they?
and meeting places.
Yeah. Well, they had a lot of boarding houses, I think.
Yeah, there was one boarding house just off King Edward Avenue near where the freeway is now. It was I never saw it. It was gone.
Yeah, when you were.
But the clubhouse was still there and
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
And that, do you know if that was the original clubhouse?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's very interesting.
It was a very old building, but
just-
really nicely kept.
I just read a reference to McRae coming back from a trip, and that he was going to be approached to build the clubhouse. So,
But
yeah, that was about 1911, I think.
Yeah, it was still the same. Like those houses were built way back too.
Yeah, really early on.
Yeah, I'm sure they were built around the same time.
Yeah, so even the one you lived in.
Yep, the
Yeah.
two I lived in. Maybe the later one on King Ed was later,
Yeah, might have been.
but the one on Sabre Street was definitely old.
Yeah. Did they feel old? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And creaky?
Well, my brother and I shared a bedroom.
Okay, yeah.
It was, well, it wasn't that big.
Yeah.
We burned wood, the wood burning stove. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was. We knew the neighbors pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Good. So we've covered a lot of these. So how long did you live in Fraser Mills?
From 1948
Yeah.
to 1970 when I got married.
Okay. And when did you start working at Fraser Mills?
When I was 16.
16. So
I started working.
that would be what? 1960? No.
Yeah,
48.
64, whatever. 48 and 20 is. Yeah.
I can do math.
Yeah, not 50. Whatever, but yeah, I worked there all. So I paid my way through university working there.
Yeah.
So I worked in various places: the sawmill, the yard site, the plywood plant.
Was it compared to like other jobs you could have? Did you find that it was worth the money?
Well, yeah, so
Like
we were
it-
pretty hard sometimes with the millwrights.
Yeah.
But sometimes at Christmas we had a few days off. I'd work in the Barker plant. We took the bark off the logs. That was an interesting. I started with doing cleanup. Of course, all these chunks of bark would be falling from the ceiling. So I
You
definitely
get
wore.
itchy, right? I just.
Oh, the big chunks of bark would come out,
Yeah.
come down. So I had my hard hat on for sure.
Oh, okay.
Then I ended up. I don't know how I did it, but there was a little shack at the top where the logs came up, and the person in there, the logs were marked sawmill logs and plywood logs, and that person had to. The log would come up, level out, and you'd have to use these big hydraulic
Oh, really?
kickers to move them.
Yeah.
So I had that job in the little shed.
Oh.
That was great. And all the other guys used to come in for coffee because it was nice and warm in there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That sounds like a good job.
That was a good job.
So, can you tell me a bit about your father and the work he did at Fraser Mills?
Well, as far as I knew, he was a millwright. Now I don't know when he did when he started working there, because
Yeah.
he didn't get a millwright ticket till 1966. So he must have been either training or he's a laborer of some sort.
Yeah. Do you know where he would have done his training? Like, was there
I don't know,
schooling
he
for
went
it?
to- There was probably somewhere like BCIT, but
Yeah.
wouldn't be there. But it was some sort of vocational school. So we had to take courses, and he successfully made everything a final in 1966.
He probably would have apprenticed under somebody.
I would think so.
Yeah. And he also served as fire chief. Do you know what years he was fire
Well-
chief down there?
We still lived on Sayward Street, so it had to be the 50s.
Yeah. And he's close to the mill too, so that's
Very
nice.
close.
Yeah. Can you tell me about? Oh, well, your grandfather was also a millwright.
Yes, he was.
Correct. Yeah. And do you know when he retired?
No, I know when he died,
When did he die?
1935.
35.
He was only 53 years old.
Yeah.
I suspect it could have been part of it work because he worked in a coal mine
Yeah.
in Germany,
Yeah.
and the reason I went to Bellingham is that there was a coal mine there. So I
Oh.
suspect it was from that he died, sort of
Oh, okay.
coal dust.
Some kind of like lung.
Mm-hmm.
That's sad.
Well, my aunt always said he worked himself to death.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that.
That does happen.
He's a hard worker.
You're
Disciplinarian, too.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he's typical
Yeah.
old German guy.
Tough German guy. What was your mom like?
My mom?
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's, well, she's a housewife. She's into music, choirs and things like that.
Yeah, you mentioned she sang in the choir. Was that in New West?
Later on in New West, she joined the big choir to sing the Messiah at Christmas time.
Oh, okay.
By that church, she was a member of the choir there.
Yeah.
And she and my aunt, Lucille, would sing duets.
Oh.
And once they got my grandfather to sing with them,
Oh.
which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
He didn't like the limelight.
I can understand that.
But the other two, they had another lady, Ann McHugh, her name was. And they had a trio, they were really good.
Oh, did they perform
No, just in church.
just in church? Okay. Was there anyone living in Mackin and Ryan House when you lived in Fraser Mills?
Yes.
Yes. And do you remember their names?
Mackin and Ryan.
So probably Maurice Ryan and Bill Mackin, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we didn't go near
Socialize?
the houses, those ones.
Yeah.
We walked by them. I had to walk by to go to Millside School,
Yeah.
where my uncle went. I guess all the brothers went there.
Yeah.
But
What
I
was,
went to Millside School.
What was Millside like when you went?
Oh, it was okay.
Yeah.
Four rooms in the main building, and there was two outside, I don't know, call them cottages, I guess.
Yeah.
One grade 1 and a grade 2 one.
Okay. And you kind of rotated through
Yeah.
the different
Then I got
rooms.
into the school in grade 3,
Okay. What school was that?
Millside.
Millside. Oh, you started there in grade 3.
So I worked at grade 6.
Okay. And then where'd you go after
I
that?
went to Winslow,
Yeah.
and then I went to Montgomery for grades 9 and 10, and back to Como Lake for grades 11 and 12.
Okay. Oh, and I guess Centennial would have been.
No Centennial.
No
It might
Centennial
have
at
been
that
being
time.
built because it opened in 67.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And my
you.
brother went there.
Oh, really? And probably one of the first classes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your Uncle Harold worked in the mill for quite a long time. Can you tell me a bit about him?
Well, he was a safety director
Yep.
for the mill, and I guess I don't think he was a production guy. I think he knew all about the mill and where things. And I always thought he was in management
Yeah.
a little bit, but
He
was-
might have been.
Yeah, I think he might have been because I don't remember him doing labor in the mill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember a lot about him actually.
No.
The other brothers, yes, but
Okay. Do you want to talk about Fred or?
well, Fred ran the gang saw,
Yeah.
and my uncle Albert was in the plywood plant,
Yeah.
and Harold worked somewhere in there, and I'm missing a brother. Well, my dad.
Yeah.
He worked in the plywood plant
Yeah.
as a millwright.
Yeah, and your Uncle Harold went on to Clinton, right? To
That's
work
right.
for a mill for Bill Mackin and Maurice Ryan.
Yeah,
correct?
they bought a mill
Yeah.
near Clinton, a place called Painted Chasm, and he ran that. He was there for 23 years,
Wow.
so we hardly saw him.
Yeah.
That we'd have to go there to see him
Oh, did you ever visit?
just once.
What was it like?
It was quite primitive.
Yeah.
Well, it was a sawmill, and First Nations people were most of the
Laborers?
employees.
Yeah.
And poor old uncle had to, every Monday morning, he'd have to post bail to get some of them out of jail.
Oh, no.
Because they went on a bit of a drinking spree.
Yeah. That happens.
And then we visited him in Revelstoke a few times. But we didn't see a lot of him
Yeah.
for all those 23 years. He'd come home once in a while.
Yeah.
And by that time, they started out in the town site. And then they built a house on extension of Burnett Street, which is called Pitt River Road, and they had a nice house there.
Oh, that's nice. And that would be like down this way?
Yeah.
Yeah. And his wife was Irene.
Irene, yeah.
Yeah, and she drove a Jaguar, you said?
She always had a Jag.
Yeah.
When I worked at the gas station, she'd come in and, get the car serviced. And I said, ooh, that is a nice car. And I said, well, what's your aunt's car? Which before she moved, later on, after my uncle had passed away, she had a Jaguar, of course. And when she left, to parts unknown.
Yeah. Somewhere in the States, yeah.
But she had a mechanic, another mechanic, and she gave him the Jaguar. And then all he had to do for it was drive her to the airport.
Wow. Very generous.
And she signed the house over to me.
Yeah.
Well, they lived in Burnaby in a townhouse. That was really interesting.
Yeah. Very generous of her.
It was.
So they didn't have any kids then, eh?
No.
Yeah.
No, she didn't like kids very much.
Oh. Fair enough.
But he was great.
Yeah.
She was quite the elegant lady. And we saw them a bit when they got older. My wife and I would go to dinner with them.
Well, that's nice.
Quite a few times. We'd visit them, and they would come. And when we lived in our last house in Surrey, they would come on Christmas Day to visit.
Yeah. That's good. Did you maintain any connection to family in the States? Do you have any relatives in Washington?
As far as I know, we don't have any.
No? Okay.
There's only one relative I've heard of, and his name is Peter Schiefke, and he's an MP.
Oh, yeah, that name sounds familiar.
He was a bit of a rebellious guy before when he was young. But,
yeah. And that would be through your grandfather's family, maybe, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was the grandson of, I'm just guessing now, of August Schiefke in Germany.
Oh, okay. Where was your family from in Germany? Do you remember?
They were in Essen.
Essen? Yeah. Marcus is from Germany.
I don't know anything about what they did. Well, I know he was a miner.
He's a miner, yeah. In the coal
But
miner.
when they came to Canada, now this, my grandmother, and it appeared, my daughter downloaded the list of passengers on the ship, and they weren't married.
Oh.
At least they were two different names. But,
Yeah. Interesting.
But
I think that happened, though.
They must have married Bellingham, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. They were married in spirit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, do you have any memorable moments you'd like to share of living in Coquitlam and Fraser Mills?
Well, I guess I don't remember memorable. I went all the schools.
Yeah.
There. We used to shop quite a bit in Coquitlam. Did a lot of. My brother and dad and I always went to Poirier to the ice rink, watch the hockey games, watch the hockey players fight, basically. And we.
Did you interact much with the French Canadian kids?
Only in school.
Only in school? Yeah.
Yeah. I saw some signs outside the house here.
Yeah.
No, I didn't recognize a lot of last names, but some.
Yeah.
I know I went to school with Rennie Gamache, the son of Old Fisher.
Oh, okay.
And he was I don't know what he did. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Gamache? Rene Gamache?
I think he was an alderman at one point.
Yeah, yeah.
But there were other families too. I remember their last names.
Did you know Mr. Paré, Antonio Paré at all?
Don't think so.
No? I'm pretty sure he grew up here. He would have, right?
I worked with a fellow, and his last name was Paye.
Yeah.
And I went to school with his son at Coquitlam.
Yeah. What types of activities did you do as a child? You had mentioned the creek and fishing.
Fishing, and I.
Did you get into any trouble?
We probably did.
Yeah.
The creek ran across. There was a railway track on the east side of the mill, and the creek ran there, and there was a building called the Pine Shed. And my dad said, don't go into the pine sheds to fish. Well, we did anyway. It was a good place.
Why did he want you to go under there?
Well, it was dark and slippery and
scary, yeah.
dangerous,
Yeah.
of course.
And of course, when your parents says don't, you do, right? Usually.
But I was a bowler,
Yeah.
a 10-pin bowler, and I had to go to Westminster on Saturdays on the bus to do that.
Yeah.
Except when Typhoon Frida hit.
Oh, what was that like?
I got there. I was surprised. I don't know why I went, because everything was closed.
Just to prove that you
But
could?
their dad said there were sheets of plywood flying around like leaves,
Oh my goodness.
like sheets of plywood.
Yeah.
And it was crazy.
Did you drive or were you on the bus?
I was on the bus then.
Yeah.
But went through New Westminster, all the car dealerships, their big windows are all broken and
Oh my goodness.
debris. From why I went into New West that day, I don't know, because everything was closed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the love of the game, right? Perhaps.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. How old were you when that happened?
I don't know what year that was. Probably the late 50s.
Late 50s? Yeah.
I would think.
Were you on a team, like a bowling team? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah? What, do you remember the name? Did it have a name?
Oh,
No?
I don't think so.
Okay.
If it did, I don't remember what it was.
Oh,
But
fair.
as an adult, I did.
You bowled too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I took my wife on our first date, was to a bowling banquet. People think that's absolutely crazy.
Why?
Well, I went there because I was getting an award.
Yeah.
And she sort of, it's our first date, and she said, this guy's weird.
How did you meet your wife?
It was through the church in Sapperton. Mm-hmm. And I was a scout. Mm-hmm. And she was a member of what they call the CGIT, which is a group that was out of the Canadian Girls in Training. What they were in training for, I don't know.
Okay. Life.
But we both belonged to a youth group, mm-hmm. Sponsored by the leaders, one of the doctors in the West. Mm-hmm. That's basically where we met.
Yeah. What's her name?
Marion.
Marion? Oh, lovely.
Marion with an A.
With an A. Okay, yeah. And you have how many kids?
2 daughters.
2 daughters, yeah. And you grew up in Surrey? They grew up in Surrey?
In Surrey.
Yeah. Good.
And one lives in Coquitlam, one lives in Surrey, so they're close.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. And now you live in Ladysmith, right?
Ladysmith, yeah.
And when did you move to Ladysmith?
We moved there in 2005.
2005.
So we've been there 17 years now.
Oh, wow.
Same place, same
Yeah.
house.
Wow. Long time. So we talked about Hurricane Frida. Were there any other historical events that had an impact on your life or that you remember?
Well, I was born in 48, so I don't remember, obviously don't remember the flood, but
Yeah.
they always talked about it.
Yeah. What did they say?
Well, they said there was water everywhere. It was the parts of the towns, the street we lived on was flooded, I think, a bit.
Yeah. Do you know how far it came up?
No.
No?
I suspect it might have came up to the Lougheed Highway, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It was a big,
And it probably
Big
shut
flood.
down the mill, I would
Oh,
think.
yes.
Yeah. Huge financial repercussions there.
for sure. Well,
Yeah.
of course, I guess there was a union then. No, not then. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, in 64. Yeah, we had a union, but still they weren't working.
Yeah.
There's a picture of my uncle in the Coquitlam 100-year book, and he's up to his knees in floodwater
Yeah.
down in the mill.
Yeah. And all the sidewalks floated, right? 'Cause
Absolutely.
They were made of wood.
And wood sidewalks.
Yeah. It was probably a smart thing, right? You would think. Any other natural disasters or?
Other than the bushfires, and not really.
Yeah. Scary though, hey? Are there any special heirlooms, photos, or other memorabilia that has been passed down in your family?
Not really.
No? Fair
I've
enough.
got a couple of awards that my dad got.
Yeah.
One for 25 years, and one It was a big clock. It was called an Atmos, and it runs on atmosphere pressure. Mm-hmm. And other than being repaired once, it's run for 63 years.
Wow.
Without anything except the one time.
Yeah, that's a substantial amount of time.
And he got pins for, like his 45th one was had the Crown Sailorback logo, and there was 2 rubies and a diamond on it.
Mm-hmm. And you never got anything?
Okay. Well, I only worked till when I went to university. Well, I worked when I was in university too, but that ended in 1972.
Yeah.
When I went to Simon Fraser University.
Yeah, they didn't count it.
Oh, I still worked on weekends while I was going to university.
Yeah.
Just one shift a week or something.
Yeah.
Put me through university.
Yeah, it must have paid very well. I mean, that...
Well, it only cost $225 a semester
Oh.
back then.
Wow.
Plus books, so maybe $350.
Yeah.
Including books.
It is definitely not like that anymore.
No. Harold
Yeah.
was the oldest son,
Yeah.
and he ate in a different room than the others
Why is that?
because he was the oldest son.
Oh, I see. Yes.
And I was treated by him because of the oldest nephew.
In a very specific way. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yes.
I guess that was a German custom. I don't know.
It could be, yeah. I feel like the oldest male is, over time, always been given...
My dad called him the big shot.
Oh, the big shot, yes.
That was an interesting custom.
Yes.
I guess it had been brought over from Germany.
It could have been, yeah.
Yeah, my daughter did a search. Mm-hmm. And, well, she found them on the ship. Mm-hmm. But she got in touch with a distant cousin.
Oh, in Germany? Wow.
And he told them about some of the relatives.
Yeah.
And she downloaded some pictures.
Very cool.
Of some of them.
Yeah. It's always nice when you can make that connection with your past.
So my grandfather's brothers
Yeah.
were there. So.
How many brothers did he have?
It looked like maybe 3.
Okay.
I couldn't tell from whether, I guess they were all brothers, they weren't cousins or anything.
Yeah.
But there was quite a few children in the pictures.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we had a family reunion once. There was 150 people in my uncle's backyard.
We had a mill
reunion. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And we had we were near Renex in Queen's Park. Mm-hmm. Just filled the place.
Wow. And you had mentioned, too, about the fishing derbies.
Well, the firemen.
Yeah.
Fishing derbies at a place called Leaders, which is upstream from where the Chinese
Town site was? Yeah.
Maybe a mile up.
Yeah.
A lot of drinking.
Yeah.
I guess they caught some fish. I remember Dad saying they had a fireman golf tournament.
Yeah.
Down at Peace Portal. He played the whole round with a driver. Everything.
Oh, no.
And he had a little cart.
Yeah.
And with ice and beer in it. Mm-hmm. He rode that around.
Yeah. I think they still do that, don't they?
Yeah, but they don't keep it out in the open.
No, you gotta hide it, yes, yeah. That's true.
No, when I golfed, we didn't do that, but...
Yeah. Well,
yeah, we did, sort of.
Sort of.
Kept things... That's when we had these... I belonged to the NCO's mess, which is corporals and up, and the civilian members could join. Mm-hmm. So I was a bartender in there. In the mess, and they had a golf tournament in Swassen.
Yeah.
That was really well attended.
Yes, I bet. Everybody had a good time.
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing for fishing. I feel like there's always alcohol. We actually have a collection of bottles that Mr. Austin's dad, who we were talking about earlier, he donated, and he found them all along the shore
the river, yeah.
Yeah, the mill. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's quite a variety.
I bet.
And older ones as well. So.
Well, of course, the mill started a long time ago.
Yeah. And they wash up on the shore or whatever, being thrown in the river.
Yeah, so my grandfather probably started there in 1909 or...
Yep, yep, he did.
Because Harold was born in 1911.
Yep,
And my Aunt Doris was born in the States. So.
yeah. Yeah, so they recruited him, brought him up.
Yeah.
That seems to be, like, there was the French Canadians, and then, they recruited a lot of people from the States as well. Did any of your family members play on the baseball team?
My brother and I played Little League.
You did, yeah. Did you ever,
In
were there
Mackin
still
Park.
the baseball games happening at that time? Because the Fraser Mills
way
baseball
back,
team was
the
a big
mill had
thing.
a team, and they were in a league.
Yeah,
My dad played, and my Uncle Harold played. And
yeah, they did
They
play.
did really well.
Yeah. Yeah, we heard that sometimes they would hire players at the mill just to go on the team.
That's right.
Ringers, right? So they would have a easy job. And they mainly were there because they were good at baseball, so they could
Yeah,
win.
it was. Yeah, I think they recruited my uncle and my dad that way.
Yeah.
Like that.
Were
had a
they known for baseball?
Not that I know of.
No?
I guess they had to learn how, but I don't remember them learning.
Yeah.
But Dad used to, when Little League was on, he was the one to put all the lines on the field for every game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do the chalking?
He kept all the chalk in the garage or
Yeah.
the woodshed.
Oh. Did you ever get into it?
No,
No.
my brother slept in the woodshed once.
Oh,
Mom
that happens.
booted him, chased him out of the house with a broom, so he slept out in the woodshed for a couple of days.
And then probably apologized and, yeah.
But I remember taking Marion on a date, and she lived near the distillery in Westminster on a dead-end street. And I drove in, turned around, and the car wouldn't back up.
Oh, no. Your transmission?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a transmission, but I was lucky there was a distillery had a gate there. So I went down the road to where the watchman was, and he opened the gate for me, so I got to drive out. But
Yeah.
stupidly, I got home, and I parked next to that shed.
Yeah.
But I went in forward. That night there was a fire.
Oh, no.
So Dad went out with the car. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
So he got the neighbor to drive him down there.
Oh, no.
But he was sitting at the kitchen table when I got up. He said, "What happened?" So the transmission went.
Yeah.
So I didn't crash. I crashed it once.
What kind of car was it?
Well, the car that I remember is a '61 Ford Galaxy.
Oh, that's a nice car.
But I was
Sorry,
going down
I'm
Blue.
moving.
I came down Blue Mountain one day, and it was rush hour. The mill was emptying out, so it was about 4:30.
Yeah.
And I pulled out on the highway, got hit. Not a lot of damage, but I got hit. Of course, he came up and had to go to court.
Yeah.
And the courthouse was up. It was in the Mackin building, I think. No, that's Ryan over there.
Yeah, Ryan
It
House.
was in there.
The
courthouse.
RCMP used to be in there
the
for quite a
courthouse was
while.
in there, so we had to
Yeah.
appear in court. And I got fined $22.50,
Oh, no.
which Dad paid.
Yeah.
He just walked up there, and it seems weird going in there.
Well, and I mean, those cars were built, they're machines.
solid.
Right? Like, yeah, any kind of accident is.
It was like a fender
Yeah.
bump kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I was going the day I went for my learner's license
Yeah.
into Westminster. We had to cross. I guess she came over the Patel Bridge and came down one of the side streets, 5th Street or something. And she was going to cross 6th Avenue because the motor vehicle branch was down the hill in New West, and she got broadsided. Some young guy from the high school his girlfriend with him, he just floored it and came up
Yeah.
the block and I was sitting where he hit. But I got out, dusted all the glass off, left her there, and went to get my learner's license.
All these things, you know.
But what she didn't know where to take it.
Yeah.
So she said, "Well, take it to Size Garage in Fraser Mills." Mm-hmm. So of course Walt came off work. Mm-hmm. That's my car. It's all bent and twisted.
What happened?
Yeah, he was quite mad.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
When he heard the story, he kind of didn't believe it, but
Yeah.
it was real.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, and I mean, before there was really a lot of regulation, right? Like things have changed a lot now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this kid was really speeding. He was really moving.
Yeah. Not good. Then, I mean, back then you could drink and drive still, right?
Well,
Like
she wrecked another car
Yeah.
that Dad had, and that was on the King George Highway. We lived at 88th and King George, that first house, and she was getting groceries, and she was turning left onto 148th,
Yeah.
and the guy ran a light
Oh, no.
and got her. All the groceries spilled all over the place. Yogurt and milk and stuff
Yeah.
all over the trunk.
Oh, no.
But my kids were in there and my wife was in there.
Yeah.
So it was okay. They survived.
Yes, that's good. Very good.
Against the old boy, what happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
know?
remember my Uncle Albert and Fred would
Yeah.
come to our house down here, and my dad, they all smoked.
Yeah.
So they'd sit around the kitchen table, tell stories. But my Uncle Fred smoked cigars.
Yeah.
He cut them in half, which was worse because they really smelled.
Oh, really? I mean, everything smelled like smoke back then, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom smoked. So I grew up with that.
Yeah.
And my
mother used to smoke, apparently,
Yeah.
till she got pregnant with me. And she
Oh,
quit.
okay. That's good.
Never smoked again.
My mom smoked herself to death, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it is.
And
what
Mom
it
worked
is.
in the mill for a while.
Did she? What'd she do there?
She worked in that plywood plant. I don't know what she did.
Yeah.
My Aunt Merle worked in there. She was a grader,
Yeah.
plywood grader,
Did
or
she-
a veneer grader.
Was she like in a office role or actually
No, she was
in
on
the
the
mill?
production line.
Oh, wow. That's great. Was there a lot of women?
Yes.
Yeah?
A few, yeah.
We worked hard. That's good.
They did.
Yes.
Most of them, quite a few of them worked on the patchers. There's flaws in the veneer, and they would patch. I tried it once. So it was okay.
Yeah. Not for you?
No, I worked in a couple places down there, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I worked on a machine that it was full sheets of plywood already, and I had to put patches in them. I had to, the foreman, he'd come in and check, make sure you got your quota every hour.
And then what happened if you didn't?
I didn't very
Yeah.
often not make it.
Yeah, you get stern talking to. Let's go.
Get at her.
Yeah.
I said, well, this plywood's got so many defects in it that it took some time.
Yeah. Well, it happens. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the veneer plant went in like it was pretty early
Yeah,
on,
it
like
was.
1912, 1914,
It was the
somewhere in
biggest
there.
mill in the British Empire
Yeah,
at that time.
yeah. Huge.
It was.
Million board feet a day.
In lumber. Yeah, that was in really early too.
Yeah,
I
like
imagine it got
1910.
better. I imagine it got better than now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think,
When I worked on the yard sizer, it seemed like a million board feet came out of that machine every day.
really?
Oh, it's-
What was it like? Like the environment, was it chaotic?
there.
Controlled? Yeah, like
No, it
the
wasn't
overall
bad.
atmosphere
No, the mill? No,
Yeah.
It wasn't.
felt
Wasn't crazy or anything.
No.
Everyone did
just busy,
their thing.
put their head down, work.
Well, when I worked in the garage,
Mm-hmm.
the lumber carriers and the forklifts used to come and get gasoline.
Yeah,
So when I worked there, I had to fill them all up. And
Mm-hmm.
got to know some of those crazy people.
Why do you say crazy?
Well, I don't know. They're just a different sort.
Oh, really?
But I worked in the shop for about a week where
Yeah.
they tuned them up and all that. And the foreman didn't like me, so I didn't stay there very long. I think he didn't like my dad. I think that was the deal. But one day he said, well, take this lumber carrier up and go get some fuel.
Yeah.
So I drove the thing, and they're top heavy. I ran a corner a little bit, tightened it, didn't really swayed. But I drove it as fast as it would go, and it was really moving.
Top speed of what?
30 maybe.
30? But I mean, it would feel pretty.
Well,
I think we have a photo around here.
When the guys were working in the yard, they certainly didn't drive it like that.
Yeah.
Being a teenager, I did that.
Well, that's all part of being a teenager, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think we've covered everything
Okay.
at this point, and I want to thank you so much for coming down and sharing your time and your stories and allowing us to take photos. And
It was enjoyable.
yes, good. I'm
Okay.
glad